Hello, welcome to Kentish Tales and Tales of Kent. Stories for people from this wonderful county or from further afield. When Thomas Becket died, the locals of Canterbury quickly found out about it and rushed to the cathedral. Rather than commemorating his death, what a lot of people did was take whatever blood they could and soak it up in garments or cut off the clothes he was wearing. And with these clothes and garments and blood, they hoped to be able to cure things. And so there were tales of how these relics cured blindness, how they cured gout, how they even cured madness. Benedict of Peterborough reported on over 700 miracles performed in the years after Becket's death. And it was said that 100,000 people visited his tomb in those years. As you wander around Otford, you're probably asking yourself something. You're probably saying, something is missing. What can't I hear? And then you quickly realise it's nightingales. So why are there no nightingales in Otford? Well, it's because when Thomas Becket was here, and he was living in his palace, the Archbishop's palace, his prayers were rudely interrupted. And he got so angry, so vexed, that he probably said something like, "Who will rid me of this troublesome nightingale?" And since that point, there have been no nightingales in Otford. This isn't the only thing that Becket has left in Otford, because when he was staying here once, he asked for a glass of the local water. And somebody passed him the local water. He put it to his saintly lips, drank a bit, and then went and spat it out. He said, "How do you even cope with this water?" And at that point, he took his mighty crozier and smacked it into the ground. And from that point, a little stream erupted, a spring, if you will. And from that water, you had the pure, most wonderful water. Alas, you can't actually see the real Thomas Becket well, because it's now behind a wall and it's now being used as part of a trout farm. It is possible that what we're actually looking at here is a Roman bath, which has been renovated and remodelled over many years. There were Roman villas in this area, so this makes sense. If you look at it, it might look pretty good for a bath, with some steps down leading to the cool waters. Some also suggest that Becket himself might well have bathed in it, obviously having made it first. There was a leper hospital in this site, so no doubt they would have taken advantage of the holy waters. People were even using it as late as the 19th century. The Gentleman's Magazine of 1820 reported that an old man who, crippled by rheumatism, was completely renovated by this bath to health and action of circumstance, witnessed by the late Lord Stanhope and several of the neighbouring gentry. Across Kent you've got numerous Beckets Wells all scattered around, often found along the downs. There's one around here, in between where you've got the M2, plus the hum in the background, and the Channel Tunnel rail link. Now, this one unfortunately has been concreted over. It's all a bit hidden. Now, you might be wondering geographically or even geologically why this happens. Well, it's because along the downs you've got a nice layer of chalk, but underneath the chalk you've got a hard layer of clay. So if the water percolates through that first layer of chalk, it's got nowhere to go. So it often kind of just springs up somewhere. Here in Singlewell, they used to have a solitary water extracting feature, bomb well. And it was said that sometime after Thomas Becket's death, a young girl called Selena had been accused of stealing some cheese, and she was running through the village when she got to the well. Now, to get away from her accusers, she jumped down the well, and as she did, she shouted, "Thomas Becket!" Must have been a very deep well, and God heard her and she landed on 2 planks, thus she didn't die. Whether she was then arrested for the cheese and there was a trial all about cheese, we don't know. What's weird is, however, Salerna is not a very Norman or Anglo-Saxon name. In fact, it's almost Roman, and the suggestion is that actually it had been called Salerna's Well all along, and it had been named after a local water nymph. This is Bapchard. It used to be an important place where Kentish kings or kings of Kent met. Originally, the town was called Becket, not sure about the pronunciation there, which Edward Hasted, writing in the 1800s, said meant moist place, which sounds unpleasant. though it's more likely to come from somewhere lost in the midst of the time called maybe Backer, thus Beckets Spring. And the spring was renamed after Thomas Becket's murder, so it was instead Becket's Well, or Beckets Spring. All of the wells we've looked at, whether it be in Otford or Salernos in Singlewell, or that rather disused one over in Cobham, all have something in common. They're all quite close to the Pilgrims Way. So the suggestion is that people were renaming their old paganish wells or just general moats and calling them after Thomas Becket, with the hope that pilgrims who were streaming in their hundreds of thousands from London to Canterbury would stop in and share some of their custom and cash in the local places. All of these wells then seem a bit forgotten, and there's a reason for that. When Henry VIII came to the throne, he had a keen commitment to the Catholic Church. The Pope even wrote him a letter saying he was a defender of the faith. However, when Henry tired of his wife, Catherine of Aragon, and wanted to go out with the younger model, Anne Boleyn, he tried to ask the Pope for a divorce. The Pope, however, wouldn't grant it, so Henry set up his own church, the Church of England. Now, the Church of England had no interest in saints and their ceremonies, so people like Thomas Becket became less important. Thomas Becket was even disliked by Henry VIII, as he was a religious man who had stood up to his king, also called Henry. It is said that Thomas's remains were dragged out of his shrine in Canterbury, which was trashed, and the bones of the saint were placed in a cannon and fired. These wells, other than the one in Otford, are probably not that famous, and that's probably because they don't have an Archbishop's palace associated with them. However, on the plus side, you might just be able to hear a nightingale. If you've enjoyed this tale and want to learn more, why not click below and you can find a reading list. Or you might want to follow me on Facebook or Twitter, and I would hope that you would like and subscribe as well. Thank you.